Welcome to another episode of our series. In this episode, we will be seeing about subjective experience. The total life which we live in this world is subjective. That is, I am Indran, and the world I see, the world I experience, the life I experience is my own experience, not somebody else's experience. It is everything I see is subjective. Everything I have knowledge is subjective. Everything I have opinion about is subjective. So today we will see this subjective experience. Without me, there is no world for me, there is no universe for me. It is all my own experience, my own perspective, my own attitude, my own way of living. So let us see the subjective experience in this episode. Subjective experience. A substantial portion of our subjective experience is beyond our consciousness. Everything is not under our consciousness, it is beyond our consciousness. The first reason we have difficulty in becoming aware of our subjective experience is that we find it very hard to stabilize our attention. We believe that we know. That is, in many cases, we have a mistaken representation of our cognitive activity, a representation to which we hold very firmly, which makes it all the more difficult to become conscious of how it has actually taken place. This is a quote from Petitmengin. Mindness. I always experience my thoughts, my focal attention, and my emotions as part of our own consciousness. Voluntary acts are initiated by myself. Second, selfhood. I am someone. I experience myself as being identical through time. The contents of my phenomenal self-consciousness form a coherent whole before initiating any intellectual operations and independent of them. I am already directly acquainted with the contents of my self-conscious. Third is perspectivalness. I am the center of myself. To be phenomenally aware means to possess an inward perspective and to take this perspective in the subjective experience of the world and of one's own mental states. Astronauts, after some time in space, tend to lose their phenomenal body axis, the subjective feeling of where the top and where the bottom of their body is. This shows that self-model of human being is a virtual model which is highly context dependent. Its content is a possibility and not a reality. In phenomenal experience, this possibility is depicted as reality, as an untranscendable presence. This is a quote from Thomas Metzinger. At any given time, many modular cerebral networks are active in parallel and process information in an unconscious manner, and information becomes conscious. However, if the neural population that represents it is mobilized by top-down attentional amplification into a brain-scale state of coherent activity that involves many neurons and distributed throughout the brain, active information survives the temporal gap only if it is conscious. Neurons contributing to the workspace should be distributed in at least 5 categories or circuits. It is high-level perceptual, motor, long-term memory, evaluative, and attentional networks. So these are the 5 networks. During conscious talks, they should, for a minimal duration, enter into coherent, self-sustained activation patterns in spite of their spatial separation. This is a quote from Stanislas Dehaene and Lionel Nakache. In a more enlightened age, there will be no such thing as a religion. There will be only 2 sciences, objective science and subjective science. Objective science deals with the things, subjective science deals with being. This is a quote from Osho. What is important is the conduct of life, for behavior is not different from righteousness. Merely to seek proof of subjective experience in no way transforms the conduct of life. On the contrary, it prevents righteous behavior, because the past experience then becomes all important and the mind is made incapable of understanding its own responses in the present. Do not let us be caught in proof and disproof, in assertions and denials, but let us understand confusion, struggle, misery, ill will, enmity, greed, and ambition. When the mind is free from all that, from all the worldly things which it creates and clings to, then there is a real possibility of stillness, and in that stillness, in that tranquility, reality comes into being. But to ask for proof of reality is to ask the impossible. That is by J.Krishnamurti. Yes, I don't like to use subjective and objective. Is there the need of experience at all? We have said experience is the response to a challenge. I challenge you. I say why? And you neither respond to it and say yes, perfectly right, why I am with you. But the moment there is a kind of resistance to that question why, you are already responding inadequately, and therefore there is conflict between us, between the challenge and the response. Now that is one kind of a thing. Now there is a desire to experience this, let's say God, something supreme, the highest happiness, the highest ecstasy, bliss, the sense of peace, whatever you like. Can the mind experience it all? It at all? This is a quote from J. Krishnamurti. Then we will be seeing about the qualia. So what is qualia? Qualia are internal, subjective, qualitative states such as the redness of the red, the aesthetic experiences of beauty and revulsion, pain, happiness, boredom, expression, elation, motivation, intention, the experience of understanding something for the first time, etc. So such states are subjective and private and are distinct, though casually related to physical and neural activities. So this is qualia. Qualia is the state which defines all our subjective qualitative experience. So that is called qualia. So as usual, I have given the references in the end. So further, it's a vast subject, and again it defines your experience of life, my experience of life. So if you want to read further, we can go through those books and videos I have given in the reference. Stay with me, subscribe to my channel. Thank you.